If you clicked on this video, it's probably because you're one of many Europeans or wherever you are in the world who have simply just had enough of energy prices going up and need to make some changes in order to be able to control the spending and how much of your budget on a monthly basis is going out on energy costs. As we're all very aware, recent events have had an even further impact on the cost of energy here in Europe and in other parts of the world, which was already on the increase following the health crisis that started in 2020. And as much as governments are now starting to recognize the seriousness of this situation, and some are starting to intervene and propose lower taxes or energy price caps, I prefer to take a more pragmatic approach and be the one who's responsible for controlling my energy spend, even if that does mean making some sacrifices on my end. So in this video, I'm going to share with you my 6 steps that I am taking to reduce my energy bill on a monthly basis in the current energy price crisis. So let's get into the video. Welcome to Millennials of Money. My name is Johnny. Thank you for joining me for this video. Let's get this money. So let's get right into it. The first thing that you want to do is understand your energy bill. Now, I'm sure many of you watching, and I include my former self in this as well, simply view your electricity bill as an amount that gets taken out every month, and you don't really look into the details of your energy consumption. Now, in the past, you and I have probably gotten away with this because it was much easier to predict our energy bills and prices were much more stable. So, for instance, we would know that we would typically have a higher energy bill in January than we would in April or May, let's say, for example, because of course, January in most of Europe is typically a cold month. However, now that we're seeing energy prices constantly going up, and they have been doing so for several months since 2021, you never know what your energy bill could be from one month to the next. Even if you've consumed less energy in one month compared to another, you could still end up with a higher bill because of the energy prices. And this all depends, of course, on your contract and what kind of terms are stipulated in your energy usage contract. Depending on who your energy provider is, they will give you varying levels of details, but typically I would say that more and more energy providers are giving you the ability to see more and more detail. The absolute minimum that I would say is important to know is what your energy price consumption per kilowatt hour is in both peak hours and off-peak hours, and understanding when those peak hours and off-peak hours are. For example, in Spain, typically off-peak hours run from midnight to 8 a.m. in the morning, and then you have peak hours which are from 10 a.m. till 2 p.m. and then from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. And in between those times, we kind of have some middle band, which is not as expensive as peak energy consumption prices are, but not as cheap as off-peak as well. So we have 3 bands in Spain. So simply by understanding the energy cost per kilowatt hour and by understanding when those energy bands are, you can start to understand why your consumption in particular times may be more expensive than others. Maybe it's more expensive because you're cooking during peak hours, or you've got the washing machine on during peak hours. For instance, in my case, my energy provider actually has an app where I can see my consumption by hour, by day. So I can get right down into the nitty-gritty details, and I can see energy spikes where, for example, I've had the heating on, where I've had the washing machine on, when I've been cooking food, and when I've been out the house as well, I can notice that, you know, the energy consumption is very low. So really try and get down into as much detail as possible, but as a good starting point is understanding what those off-peak and peak hours are and what the energy cost is during those hours. Tip number 2 can come as a result of tip number 1. So once you understand how much it costs to consume energy in different hours, you might want to consider changing some of your habits. Now, we've all heard the classics, you know, turn off the light when you go out the room, don't leave the TV on standby, and it's all stuff that we're like, yeah, you know, I should do this, but I don't. Well, now is the time to really do it, because, you know, this energy crisis, it's getting serious now. And as much as these are little things, they can save you like quite a bit on your energy consumption. Now, these of course are probably some of the most common ones that we've heard, but maybe some other things that you want to consider could be maybe putting on the washing machine or the dishwasher during off-peak hours, as long as of course it doesn't disturb your neighbors. Maybe you put it on, for example, at 7 a.m. or 7:30 in the morning, during the week when people are already waking up for work, and it's not going to cause a problem for them. And maybe you shorten some of the cycle time. So if you've had the dishwasher on for an hour, maybe you shorten the cycle to 45 minutes to 30 minutes, or a washing machine it's a tough one. Or a washing machine cycle, instead of doing maybe a 2-hour wash, you do a 1.5-hour wash, 1 hour 15-minute wash, etc. You get the idea. And of course, when it comes to heating, air conditioning, depending on where you live, putting timers on your heating or air conditioning can be really good. And wearing more layers of clothes or less layers of clothes as well can help, depending on where you're on, because you won't have to have the aircon or the heating on as powerful, and you won't necessarily have to have it on for as long as well. Tip number 3 is update your budget. So, as sad as it sounds, it seems like high energy prices and inflation are gonna be around for a while. How long? We don't know. But that does mean that we need to prepare and plan for it. So just as you would plan for your monthly spend on food shopping or your monthly spend on energy as you've done in the past, you need to be realistic with it. It does mean likely that you're going to be spending more money, so you need to plan accordingly. And as more of your monthly budget is going to be destined towards energy costs as a result of the current situation, you are going to have to probably adjust your other categories as well, whether you cut back slightly on food, for example, or you cut back slightly on entertainment, sad as that may be, or maybe you have to cut back on saving and investing. But it's a real thing that you need to consider, and you should adapt your budget accordingly so that you don't have any surprises in the months going forward. Tip number 4 is consider a new energy provider. Obviously, with everything going on, energy providers are coming out with new offers to try and attract new clients. And this could be a good time to review your current contract and see if what you have currently is working for you or not working for you, and if another supplier out there could give you better terms, or if they've got a particularly attractive discount or promotional offer that will provide you some savings in the short to medium term. And you don't have to lock yourself in with one provider for a long time. I live in Spain, so a lot of the energy providers here, a lot of the contracts here don't have any minimum commitments, so you can come and go between providers as you please. I'm not too sure how it works in other countries necessarily, but is something to consider. So when you are looking for a new energy provider, look for these offers to see if there's anything attractive. Compare, the tariffs by different hours if you can. See what one provider is charging in peak hours versus off-peak hours versus another, and think realistically about what works best for your lifestyle, your habits, your consumption, what will give you the best deal. And there's a lot of price comparison websites across Europe. I'll put a small list on the screen here by country of the ones that I've been able to find. So it is worth checking them out and just having a look compared to what your current contract says. Tip number 5 is upgrade any old appliances. Now, as many of you know, if you follow the channel, the apartment I'm in now, I bought it last year. It's quite an old apartment. It's from the 60s, and a lot of the furniture and appliances in it when I arrived were very, very old. I've already replaced a washing machine, and I do plan to replace a fridge and a microwave as well, because some of these appliances, believe it or not, are actually older than me. Because these appliances are so old, they weren't necessarily designed with efficient energy consumption in mind. However, today a lot of appliances are, and they of course have the different ratings category based on their energy consumption. So it is worth having a look and see if any appliances are worth replacing. It is a bit of a cost that you need to lay out at the start, but hopefully if those appliances last you for several years, then the savings you'll have in energy consumption will compensate for that initial investment that you put out. And tip number 6, the final tip that I'm going to talk about today, is considering the insulation properties of your home, of your apartment. So another thing with this apartment is that because it's from the 60s, it was not designed with a lot of comfort in mind that we would take in when building a house today. So there is no insulation. There was a lot of single glass windows. So these are things that I'm starting to consider as well, is putting insulation in the walls, upgrading some of the windows, some of the doors. When heat escapes, it means that you need to spend more energy heating the property. And so, that's more energy that you're going to be spending, and more energy that's being wasted as well. And again, like upgrading your appliances, this is going to cost some money at first. It's going to be an investment. But over the long term, insulation materials generally last a long time. And this is a good investment to help improve the energy efficiency of your house. And if you're lucky as well, depending on where you live, maybe your local government or your national government will give you subsidies for installing this, because a lot of governments are really pushing, you know, cleaner energy, energy efficiency right now. So maybe as part of that, you have a scheme where you are that can help. So those are my tips, guys. I hope you found them helpful. Leave a comment and let me know, how are you dealing with the current energy crisis? And do you have any tips that I haven't talked about in this video? Now, check out my other videos if you like this one. And if you're not yet subscribed and you want to see more content like this, then make sure you hit the subscribe button with the notification bell so that you don't miss a single update. I'll see you on the next one, and let's save this money.